Hi everyone, Miss Nicole here, and today for our lesson we're going to talk about COVID-19 and feeling disappointed. So by the end of our lesson, I'm hoping that you're going to understand what it means to accept your feelings, learn about managing expectations, and we're going to explore other strategies or ways to help ourselves when we're feeling disappointed or cope with disappointment. Okay. So first off, we're going to connect by talking about what is uncertainty and disappointment. So for many of us, the COVID-19 pandemic means that the things we had planned might not happen. And sometimes we already know that some things won't happen, and we might feel disappointed. So after this slide, we're going to look at some headlines from the news that we may have seen over the summer. And as you read them, I want you to think, do they surprise you? And after you read them, or after our lesson, there's a Google form that we're going to work on where you can answer these questions. Okay, so if you want, you can write down the answers. Okay, so we're going to take a look at some of these headlines. So this is from a newspaper and it says, opinion, when can kids go back to class? From Spencer Boket Lindell from the New York Times. Our next one is, COVID-19 keeps putting the new school year in total limbo, meaning we're not sure what's happening right now. By Annie Greer from CNN. And our last one is, reopening schools. Will in-person classes, online learning, or a mix be the solution? From Elizabeth Church at NBC News. So thinking about these headlines, and you'll be able to answer on your Google form, did any of them relate to things that you're experiencing in your daily life, or maybe that people around you are experiencing? So maybe no, or yes, definitely, or yes, somewhat, or maybe not sure. Now you can write this down on a piece of paper, or you can just type it straight into the Google form. So has anything in your life been canceled or delayed because of the pandemic? Or are there some things that you think might be canceled later? So you can mention one example, or if you want to talk about more, just your experience in general, you can do that too. So like I can think of, I've had a lot of friends' birthdays, or friends and family birthday celebrations have been canceled. We thought we were going to see one another. I have family who live in another city, and I haven't been able to do that. So those are some things that I've been thinking about. I've also just been thinking about school for right now. It hasn't been canceled, but we haven't been able to see each other in person yet. So that's been delayed. And yeah, there's other things that I've been wondering if they're going to get canceled, but I can't think of them right now. But there's just been a lot of different things I've been thinking about. So we're going to take a second to learn about something called emotional acceptance. So the thing about this pandemic or COVID-19 and all that's been going on is it's completely normal and okay to feel many different feelings or emotions during this time. So many experts or people who know a lot about emotions and feelings say that it's helpful to recognize or be aware of and think about your feelings. So there are some questions here that we can ask ourselves. How am I feeling? Sometimes just knowing how you're feeling can help you understand why I'm feeling this way. And then we can also think about, if we know how we're feeling and we know why we're feeling that way, we can also think about, how are these feelings affecting me? Or how are they making my mind feel or my body feel? And just by thinking about these questions, it can help us decide what to do. So sometimes it might be easier not to think about the feelings at that moment, or sometimes we're trying really hard to stay positive because we think that might help us feel better, like our slide says, looking on the bright side. And staying positive can definitely help us, but it's also important to know how you feel. So on our next slide, we're going to watch a video in which a child psychologist, or someone who studies the brain and knows how we're thinking and feeling, and she's going to give us some advice, or the students in our video, but the advice goes for us as well, about how to cope or manage their feelings, okay? So as you watch, I want you to try to keep track of the advice that she gives.
Sometimes I feel happy, sad, worried, angry, excited, disgusted, frightened. Life is full of feelings, whether they're good ones or not so good ones. None of us can help having them. It's just how our brains are wired. In fact, experts say there's a good reason we have different feelings. They can help us get along with others, protect us from danger, or tell us when something's not right and needs to change. But sometimes our feelings can be more intense or harder to handle than usual, like when we get worried.
I worry about practically everything, every slightest thing.
Even like the smaller things at school also get me really worried and a bit nervous about even coming to school.
Or angry.
Sometimes I feel really annoyed at my brothers and sisters because like I'm the middle child and I feel like I'm always a peacekeeper, and it just makes me really annoyed and angry because it just never stops.
Or sad.
My mum got diagnosed with breast cancer, and at that time I just remember feeling really sad and worried that she wasn't going to survive and that I didn't have my mum with me anymore.
I used to be constantly bullied over and over again. I never really told anyone about it. I just bottled the feelings up inside me.
Experts say if you ignore these feelings or let them take over, they can end up having a bad impact on your mental health. Mental health is the way you think or feel about yourself and what's going on around you. Just like your physical health, if you don't take good care of it, it can make everyday things harder and eventually could turn into a bigger problem. So how do you keep your mental health healthy?
Hi everyone.
Hi.
Kiralee is a child psychologist, and part of her job is talking to kids about just that.
Like these guys were telling me before about times when they felt really sad or worried or angry. So what is the best way to kind of deal with something like that?
Okay, so let's talk about worry. So there are some different things we want to do when we feel worried, and one of them is to try and think about exactly what it is that's making us worried. Something else you can do is to write down some calm thoughts, some this is not the end of the world thoughts. You also want to try and act in brave ways, because when you act in a way that's brave and you're not avoiding something, then that tells your brain, oh, maybe we can cope with this after all. A good thing to do when you're mad is to try and take a really deep breath and make your muscles as floppy as you can. Breathe in. Breathe out, slower and floppy. Another thing that you can do when you're mad is to try and get yourself away from the thing that's making you mad. But sometimes you can't, right? Like you're in the car or you're at the tea table or you're in the classroom and you can't walk away. So you're going to take 30 seconds to think about what you would spend $1,000 on. Right? If you take a little holiday in your brain, that can help you then think a bit more carefully. Talk a little bit about your sadness. You might like to paint or draw a picture or play music or write a letter. Something else that's really important to do when you're feeling sad is exercise. That actually helps your brain work better and it helps you feel better. So it's really important when you're sad is to kind of make yourself do stuff that's important to you.
Well, what makes me happy is playing the guitar and just reading. When I'm worried, I like watching movies.
A good way that I use to make myself calm down is I draw. So instead of leaving the sadness and anger inside, I put it on just a piece of paper.
Overall, Kiralee says that communication is the most important part of dealing with worry, sadness, or anger.
It's really important to try and tell somebody. Particularly an adult can be useful, but even if it's another friend.
And remember, you're never the only one feeling the way you do.
So the psychologist in that video said that it can be helpful to stop and think about what it is that is making us feel a certain way. So you can answer this in your Google form, okay? Or you can answer it aloud with me for now. Do you think doing this could help you deal with any of the feelings that you're experiencing right now? Maybe you're not sure, maybe yes or no, but let me know what you think in your Google form. And the psychologist also suggested getting your feelings down on paper, representing them in a drawing, or talking to an adult or friend about them. So if you could pick one of those 3 suggestions to do this week, what would it be? So explain in your Google form what you would do. Would you like to write your feelings down, draw them out, or talk to an adult or friend? And explain why. So we're going to dig a little bit deeper, okay? Now we're going to watch a video about kids around the world who are also experiencing the COVID-19 pandemic, and we're going to see what they're doing in their homes or in their areas.
My name is Jacob.
And my name is Zachary.
Now? Yeah, I didn't know you started it.
Hello. Hi, my name is Aaliyah Francis. I'm Nico. My name is Isla.
And this is what we do at Corona Academy every day.
Corona Academy. Corona.
Do a dance.
So yeah, I'm here with my dad. I'm trying to get him in shape.
We just came back from playing basketball. What day is it today? My birthday.
And how old are you turning?
6.
This guy will eat almost anything, but he always gets to stay home.
What is coronavirus?
It's called virus.
Coronavirus is, coronavirus.
It's a virus that is contagious and spreads faster than the flu. And people could die from it. They're working hard in hospitals, but it's still very dangerous.
Disease/virus that needs to be stopped, and I think we can do that by staying inside, washing your hands.
It impacts everyone in the world, and from people lacking education because they can't go to school and don't have all the resources they need. Yes, I do like being home from school.
Oh, sure, it is exciting to be home, but there's another half to go with it. Being at home with my parents, it's sometimes annoying because they're always like getting work calls. It feels really different because of all the cancellations. We do school online. We don't get to see our teachers. We don't know when we're gonna go back. It just isn't the same without friends here. I miss my friends a lot.
Yeah, I miss my friends. Now it's starting to get boring.
It's very boring. It can get boring.
I was actually so bored that I decided to do some art on my room.
And I stay in touch with my friends by FaceTiming them. Tomorrow, my friend's throwing a virtual birthday party. I'm not exactly sure how the virtual works, but I'm excited to find out how.
The first thing I want to do when the quarantine ends is have a 6th grade camp and a baby 6th grade graduation at the end of the school year instead of having to do it in 7th grade. I mean, 6th grade graduation is its graduation of 6th grade if you're doing it in 7th grade. Seriously, people.
So we heard a lot of different strategies, but let's learn some more, okay? So we heard a lot of the students in that video share their experience. Now, many of you may have noticed a student or more who have an experience similar to you. So thinking about that, one great way to help ourselves right now at this time is to build a circle of support. Or another way to think about that is just people like our friends and our family who we can keep in touch with. Even if it's a video chat or over the phone, just staying in touch with family and friends can help you feel more positive, especially when you're feeling down. Because one thing we're missing a lot of right now is connection, since we can't see everyone we want to see face to face or in person. So thinking about that circle of support, who's in your circle of support? So you can either draw, you can write, you can also fill out in your Google form or paste images of people who you can count on. So I'll open that up. So up to you if you want to draw, write, or paste images of people who are in your circle right now. But I can think of my parents, so I can turn to my mom or dad, my siblings, and my nieces and my nephew. Those are people I've been trying to keep in touch with. Friends, we've been texting or video chatting as often as we can, not every day, but as much as we can. And also my colleagues, so people who I work with, because we're all trying our best to figure out ways to support each other and our students and families and everyone. So those are all people I can count on to support me right now. So who are those people for you? So this slide may seem a little bit complicated. It uses a big term called cognitive reframing. Now, another way to think about that is kind of like growth mindset. We've talked about that before. So it's taking something that's negative and thinking about it in a more positive way. So remember when we said things like, I can't do this, or I'll never be able to do this. And instead saying, I can do this. I just am working on it, or I can't do this yet. So we try to change our thinking a little bit more positive, because when we say things in a positive way, it can help us feel grateful instead of sad. So here are some examples. My friends and I can't see each other. So instead, we can think of that as my friends and I are protecting each other. I'm stuck at home would be our negative. Instead, we're saying I'm safe at home. So these are just some examples with our self-isolation, or other words we might be using are quarantine or shelter in place. We're hearing those. So those are some ways that we can try to change our thoughts to be a little more positive. So thinking about that, and now you can also answer in your Google form, okay? What is one negative statement about your life right now that you could say in a way that is more positive? So in the Google form, tell me what your negative statement is, and tell me how you could try to change it to be more positive. So I think right now I want to work on this one. I'm stuck at home. I hear myself say that a lot, or there's nothing to do, or I'm so bored. And I think just thinking about that and saying I'm safe at home makes me think about how grateful I can be that I have a warm and safe home to be in, and that I'm not sick, and that I'm healthy. So those are things that I start to think about when I change my thinking a little bit. Another way that we can help ourselves feel better is to try to focus on others. So I know that a lot of us are spending more time with family and or adults who are taking care of us. So trying to help them can help us feel less worried or sad. So thinking about this, you can share your ideas in your Google form, or you can write that down for now. Think about how you can help your family or your community during this pandemic. So something I've been doing a lot is I've been helping my mom cook. I've been going to the grocery store to pick up her groceries. I've also been trying to clean out my apartment and donate some things that I'm not using to community centers that might be needing supplies for people to share. So those are some things I've been doing. What are things you can do? How many of you can help wash the dishes or maybe clean your room or clean the house? Help your families clean the house. What are some other things you can do? And with that said, these are some credits and sources, okay? Now, in the description of this video will be our Google form, okay? So if you didn't fill it out while we were going through the slides, no problem, you can fill it out after. And I also want to remind all of you that if any of you need to talk to someone and you're not sure who to talk to at home, or you would just like to check in with me, you can, okay? So I'm also going to put my contact information in the description. I hope to see many of you soon. Thanks for spending some time with me today.